it took one reference to get back within 24, 36 hours with 7 responses and good tangible feedback to make me a believer. And one of the nicest parts about using Checkster is the time convenience and the efficiency in which it gets our references done. We used to spend a lot of time calling after references, and you might be able to give 3 calls out, and you might not get in touch with that particular reference, and now you've wasted 15, 20 minutes of your day. And this, it puts some of the ownership onto the candidate, and that would get better quality responses from their references and more time efficient. I can have a candidate go ahead and take ownership and be able to go out and get the references back, and then when I get that information, it's a lot more thorough and in detail than what I would be able to get if I was spending the time. And from our client's standpoint as well, they're getting a lot more in detail information, and also they're getting a more specific answer to the question as opposed to yes or no answers. If we get in touch with a reference, they might just be wanting to get me off the phone because they're at a busy time. In this case, the references can take some time, think about the questions, and type up more detailed responses than what we could get over the phone. When we get to a point between our client interview and what would be a final interview, that's when we do our reference checks with the top couple of candidates using Checkster. What's nice about that is it gives our clients some direction to what they should be probing in an interview. If we get information back from their references that indicate a deficiency in one area, we can make a recommendation to the hiring supervisor during the interview process. Let's probe these areas. So it's a nice way to guide our clients to better interviews, ultimately making sure that we get those answers to the questions that we have that get exposed through the reference process. One thing for our company, it's nice to be able to provide our clients with this type of report. It looks obviously much more professional than it would be if it was a Word document or if it would be an Excel spreadsheet. This gives our clients an opportunity to look at the report and identify right away if this is a good candidate or a bad candidate, or good references or poor references, and they can see that with the percentages. Not only that, it gives the detail for those that want to probe further and identify, what were some of the strengths, what were some of the weaknesses, opportunities, and places to delve in again further, not only just in the interview process and whether or not this is going to be somebody good to hire, but also in the management process. I always use it as a tool for them as well to say, look at this not only to make a decision, but someone that you're going to be able to manage down the road, and what are some of the things that you like, what don't you like, or what are some of the previous managers seen as deficiencies, areas that you might want to make sure that you have an eye on in the early stages of the process. The reporting function from our standpoint, again, it's not spending all of our time documenting these things. It's a report that comes back to us, very user-friendly, and again, a time saver on our standpoint to be able to send that over to our clients. And the clients appreciate the thoroughness, the in-depth, and again, I think the visuals add a lot to the product and go a long way in validating our services as well as what the references have to say about their potential candidate. Again, when we were doing the references, we'll get a list of 3 or 4 references, and typically because of time factor, we would on average probably do less references per candidate than we can with Checkster. Checkster, it's not a time factor. With us, we'll say, well, we want to get the 3 references that they provide because that's what we have time to do, to go out and chase their references. With Checkster, we're probably getting twice as many references per candidate because it's not a time factor on our end. Candidates engaged in the process, but when they get to the final stages, it's something that they're excited about the opportunity, and by giving them ownership, we get a much faster response time of, hey, I'm going to be sending you out an email, please go through and complete the reference checks because it's an opportunity that I'm really excited about, and the quickness in the response is helpful for us. Good candidates aren't around for very long, so every time we can minimize the steps or the space in between information out to your references, we usually get it back within a day or so. The response is fantastic, and that quickly then we can help the hiring supervisor make some informed interview questions and helps really needle down some of those areas. So the time saver is an obvious advancement from what we've been doing in the past as well. What we used to do in our old reference check was have them grade from 1 to 10. How was this person on punctuality? And the person would give me a 7, and then I obviously give them an opportunity to elaborate any further if they'd like. But more than likely, we catch them at a busy time during the day, and they want to go ahead and give quick answers and get through. When they have the opportunity to sit down and think about their responses, obviously they can come up with a more realistic idea of what this person was like to work with, and that gives insight to both myself as a recruiter and our hiring supervisors as well. They tend to open up a lot more when they're sitting at home typing on a computer than they would with me when they have no time to spare in their office. Candidates that we've engaged in the process think it's first a unique tool. I don't think there's something else out there like it. So it's new technology to them, but them taking ownership in the process, again, it equates to getting the faster times back on their responses. I think it also generates a report to the candidate, so they get to see what people are saying about them, which I think from a self-improvement standpoint, they don't get that unbiased feedback all the time. So from a what areas can I improve if I do start a new job, or this is what my future supervisor knows about me already. These are areas that I definitely need to improve on. I think from a candidate standpoint, I think they have an interest in it, and again, they get some unbiased information as well going through the process. I think with Checkster, it's the next evolution of reference checks. Again, we as HR professionals or recruiter get stonewalled a lot by contacting the HR department, and the HR department says, I can give you name, rank, and serial number, that sort of thing. And that's the reference that we get. And we run into that roadblock, and we spend a lot of time, and then we chalk it off as due diligence. We've tried to contact the references 3 times, and that's good enough. And now with Checkster, we have a threshold that we can get back. Again, if we were only attempting to contact 3 references before and we got 2/3 of them back, now we can go up to 7, and they're a lot better in getting the responses back. And it's a time saver. And as we know, again, we are dealing in commodities that are always looking for the best opportunity. It's our job as recruiters or HR professionals to keep them engaged in the process and to keep it timely. I think we've all been in a spot where the interview process has drug out, weeks on end. This allows a recruiter or HR professional to really shorten that gap and allow them to, again, get some additional in the interview, as well as getting it back timely. So I think it's a great tool. If you have somebody that you have some questions on, probing those areas in the reference check, and again, getting it back in such a timely manner, it's a huge time saver for both myself and also the client or candidate. You're used to, this is how references get done. Pound the pavement, pick up the phone, give some call. At first, it felt first of all, it's tremendously user friendly. You go through it, navigate you through the process, and it almost seems too easy that the information's out there. And then it's interesting as you kind of go through, and I know the first time I started using it, I kept checking, where are they at in process? Where are they at in process? And to see they're at 60% now. It's something neat to know that how long this would have taken me before to get, and to know that it's a much more efficient way. So it was new technology. Obviously it was something very different than what I've done before, but it took one reference to get back within 24, 36 hours with 7 responses and good tangible feedback to make me a believer. And from there, it's pretty straightforward and again, tremendously user friendly and great information. I hate to admit it, but probably better information than I can get on my own. And I guess that's the value of Checkster.